Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Comeback Sports Podcast. I'm your host, AJ. We got a jam-packed filled episode as usual. Joining me today will be my good friend Oscar here, and we'll be talking about the Chicago Bears with their number one draft pick, Justin Fields, some other NFL topics such as the other rookie quarterbacks that enter the season, our predictions for the upcoming season, which regards the Rookie of the Year, the MVP, and then we'll jump into some anime. So stick around. Now for your quote of the week. Be the racer you are, no matter what place you're in. Oscar, what does that quote mean to you?
Well, AJ, first, thanks for having me on. So what that quote means to me, I think essentially that just means, regardless of what you have going on in your life or where you're at in your life, you kind of just have to keep going, doing what you're doing in terms of, I guess, what your strengths are. You can't, always excel in other things that people are excelling in. Right off the bat, it can take some time. Some people are just good at other things. So really kind of focusing on what you bring to the table and your personal strengths, and kind of just believing in yourself. Overall, I think, it'll help propel you to the front. So being the racer you are, obviously, just, kind of accommodating to your own strengths and like I said, believing in yourself. So
yeah, I really do like that take. Mine kind of falls similar. My perception of it is like people are kind of in different points of their lives. So like everyone has a different pace in this kind of perspective. And as long as you're kind of following your own path that you think is right, in the end, it will work out.
Right.
Everyone has different end goals and everyone has different paces. So just because someone may be doing things that you're not there yet, doesn't mean you won't get there.
Right.
It's just not your moment yet.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Oscar, thanks again for coming in. I'm glad we could do this. For those who don't know, me and Oscar used to work together, and he is a big Chicago Bears fan and other good things sports. I'm really excited to talk about AIM with him later because we do talk about that most times when we were together at work.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's kind of jump into things with the Chicago Bears. So I'll start it off. Justin Fields, the number one overall pick for the Chicago Bears this season, he just had his first preseason game. From the first look of his week one preseason game, where do you see him actually starting for Chicago Bears?
Well, being a Bears fan, you always have to take into consideration that things are not going to happen until they absolutely need to happen, which is unfortunate a lot of the time. Obviously, the Chicago Bears quarterback situation is just it's kind of a joke. I mean, you have Nick Foles, and you have Andy Dalton, and then now Justin Fields. After his preseason performance too, you would think, obviously it was a little rocky to start, but I mean it was his little first ever NFL start. I mean it's still preseason, but once he got acclimated, it took a few drives. He looked great, 2 touchdowns, and one of them being a rushing touchdown. He definitely looks and to me feels like the best quarterback that they have in the locker room right now. Obviously, you paid $12 million to get Andy Dalton, so I feel like a lot of people feel that he's going to start. And he actually just came out and said recently, I saw on Twitter today too, that he said Justin Fields is going to have a great career, but this is going to be my year. So we'll see what happens. I know, like, I've thought about this before in terms of when he would actually start. A lot of people say that he's not going to start until like halfway through the season. Just be like it'll be when the Bears start to do like really bad, and then they'll bring in him afterwards. If anything, I mean it'll take a few starts. I think unless like this next preseason game. I think it's on Saturday versus the Bills, which is going to be exciting because I'm assuming Trubisky's going to be playing. So, but we'll see how he performs that day. I don't think they're going to start him right off the bat. I feel like they're going to give Andy Dalton a chance, but as long as Justin Fields performs well on Saturday, I mean, hopefully we'll only get a couple games into the season before we see anything with or before we see Justin Fields start. I mean, obviously I'd like him to start at the beginning, but
yeah, kind of when I saw him play, he was what I expected. Like he made some rookie mistakes, which is normal, especially in your first start in a professional game, but he showed flashes of success. I'm glad that he uses the legs that that he's gifted with, because he can make some moves and some throws on his legs. And Bears fans should be happy what they see from the arm talent perspective. Here's kind of some notes I got from that Week 1 preseason game. ESPN milked the shit out of the touchdown pass to Jesse James.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, it was a great pass, touchdown, Bears won the game. That's great to hear. But there's things I saw that deserved more attention. Like, he wasn't afraid to make easy plays. Like, I understand, like, you want to show how great you are, but sometimes making the easy plays, just getting the first down is how great you are. It kind of shows your decision-making skills.
Mm-hmm.
He also seems to show that he has good trust with his receivers. One example I could say was there was a play where Rodney Adams was tightly covered, and Justin Fields still committed to the throw and put him in a position where he can get it, which is a good thing to have. Chemistry with the receivers is going to get you far in your career.
Right.
And I mentioned he uses his legs pretty well to either run for a rushing first down or just to make the play extend. There's a couple times he just makes an easy pass on his legs to the receiver where he draws the defense towards him because they don't know what to expect, especially a rookie and who has a running experience. Some defenders might just come at you, but he uses that advantage and just makes the easy play.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of that rushing touchdown, that I saw was there was an O-line collapse. I think it was on the left tackle where they were coming at him from the left side. And instead of panicking like a normal person would, he didn't really panic. He just kind of intuitively sensed that he was coming and got away into safety. And then he, of course, ran for the touchdown.
Right.
But it's just kind of neat. Like, he definitely is a very talented player. He's probably the most talented quarterback I've seen the Bears draft in as long as I've seen.
Yeah.
And looking at that, if he has those flashes of success for the upcoming preseason games, which I assume he will, I would say he won't start week 1. I don't think there's a chance he will because Matt Nagy's kind of in a position where his job's on the line regardless of what has been said from the front office.
Yeah.
And I think he wants to play the safe card and just start Dalton in week 1 against the Rams because the Rams are pretty stacked this year, especially with the acquisition of Matt Stafford, who I think will have a great season. People are not prepared for what Matt Stafford's going to do. And I think they'll play Fields in week 2 against the Bengals. So the Bengals is probably the easiest team within the first couple weeks. And I think that will kind of showcase them a little bit better versus the Rams.
Yeah. Is Joey Burrow starting?
That I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen if he's back or not. I know too, like kind of like what you're saying though. I mean, you're right. I mean, Justin Fields you can see how calm he is on the field, which that alone is going to be a great asset for him during the rest of the season and when his career in general. Because like obviously a lot of people are going to compare him to Trubisky since that's like the last like high draft pick that we used for a quarterback, but something like Trubisky, you could tell like he just wasn't, as calm in the pocket. He's very, like he would have to scramble for him to do anything well. Where Justin Fields, you just see he looks more level-headed. He kind of understands what's going on. I even saw there's a graphic too. Let me see if I have it here of top speeds for the first preseason game. So it's a list. I can send you it too.
Okay.
It's a list of the top 5 speeds reached in the preseason week 1. And so the first is a wide receiver from the Eagles, Quez Watkins, 21.56 miles per hour. Another wide receiver from the Broncos is number 2, KJ Hamler, at 21.38 miles per hour. Then number 3, quarterback, it's Justin Fields when he ran for that rushing touchdown at 20.39 miles per hour. And then the other 2 is another running back and another wide receiver. But that is insane to me that he's that quick. I didn't realize I knew he was like a mobile quarterback, but I didn't know he, got the speed too, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I think you're right though. I mean, against the Rams, I personally love Matt Stafford. That dude's a dog. Especially with he had Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay, but the Lions are the Lions. But now at the Rams, I think this is going to be some of the best Matt Stafford playing that we're going to be able to see because he's got some good offensive weapons around him now, and then he's got obviously the mind in Sean McVay, so that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. And regardless of who starts for the Bears, Do you think the current weapons, such as like the O-line, the running backs, the receivers, tight ends, whoever starts has a chance of success?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think we have good weapons. I mean, across the board. I would say, like, for wide receivers specifically, I mean, obviously we have Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson he's a dog. That dude is insane. And then Darnell Mooney has been looking very good, especially over like the last year. So I think with wide receivers we're good. I mean, with running backs, it's a little. I like David Montgomery. I don't think he's going to be like a workhorse guy. It'll be nice to have Tariq Cohen back too, because he's another thing with Dave Montgomery. Like his hands haven't been like super great. I think he definitely, you can tell he's a hard worker and has a lot of heart. So I think there's potential for him to grow. But it'll be nice to have Tariq Cohen back to have like a little bit more of versatility in the backfield. As far as our offensive line goes, I know like the left side of our offensive line's not great, especially since and we got rid of Charles Leno too. So the offensive line, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Because then there's who's that guy that we just drafted?
Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah, and he's getting back surgery now too. So we'll see. I'm a little worried about that. So that could be another reason too that they don't start Fields, is they don't want like a Joey Burrow type situation to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, those are some very good points. And in terms of the receivers, yeah, Allen Robinson, dog. Yeah, I like Allen Robinson. I really want to keep an eye on Darnell Mooney. Like, there have been cases where Trubisky, he doesn't make the deepest throws. He's afraid to. But Darnell gets open, believe it or not. So I have a feeling under new quarterbacks, I hope preferably Justin Fields, he'd be utilized way better.
Right. Yeah, I think it'll be fun to watch for sure. Because I mean, like we said, I mean, we'll see. I don't know how many like offensive reps that he's gotten with like the A team. So we'll see. I don't know how much chemistry he's built over like the course of their training and stuff. So that's another thing too to keep in mind, is like if he's playing with specific people, it'll be a little bit more. It'll take a little bit more time for him to build some chemistry with everybody else.
That's true. Did you like the acquisition for Jason Peters?
Oh, the Bears just got him, didn't they, or not? Yeah. I didn't. Where's he from? Is he? Gosh,
I can't. Eagles. He's
from the Eagles.
He's on the Eagles.
Gotcha. I haven't looked too much into that, but I mean, obviously, we'll see. I mean, the last few picks last few people that they've brought over, the one that sticks out to me. I mean, they paid a bunch of money for Robert Quinn, so hopefully their judgment in Jason Peters was good as well. Because with Robert Quinn, I mean, he had a good career, but this last year with the Bears wasn't super great. But so we'll see. Like I said, I haven't done too much research on him though, on Jason Peters, so we'll see.
Yeah, my concern is he's older. I think he's like 38, 39, and he may be injury prone. But it's nice to have just at least a veteran presence on your O-line.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think we'll know more as week 1 approaches. But at the moment, I would say the offense is better than last year for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we talked about Justin Fields. Let's kind of talk about the other rookie quarterbacks. So you got Trey Lance for the 49ers, Trevor Lawrence for the Jaguars, Zach Wilson for the Jets, and Mac Jones for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Do you see any of these other quarterbacks kind of making an immediate difference in the upcoming season, whether it's the push for the playoffs, winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, or just starting, I guess?
Yeah, I think, Trevor Lawrence, I mean, you can't go wrong with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that dude, there's a reason he's going to get picked, 1 overall. The problem is if you get picked 1 overall, you're going to the worst team. So, I mean, we'll see. I wish him the best because I mean, like you saw what happened with the year before with Joey Burrow too. I mean, you could definitely tell he played well. I mean, there's all rookie quarterbacks, regardless of who you are, still going to have to take some time to get acclimated to the NFL. It's just it's a different different play style. So with Trevor Lawrence, we'll have to see how he does. I mean, it's the Jag. So
right,
and then. Let's see who else we got here. So Trey Lance, I mean, with Kyle Shanahan, I mean, depending on how Trey Lance plays, I think that'll kind of I don't know how good that'll be because they still have Garoppolo too, don't they? So I think those. I don't know. We'll see what Kyle Shanahan does. I mean, it's nice to have someone like him, or like if you're Mac Jones on the Patriots too with Bill Belichick. Like you have offensive minds to kind of help guide you, like that, you know. So I think those will be good. And then Zach Wilson, he's pretty good as well. So I don't know if any of those people are going to go. I mean, with the Patriots, obviously, there's always a chance to go to the playoffs. They're the Pats, so it's just the way. But I think last year was like a good example of, you know, how much that Tom Brady actually did bring to their franchise after he wasn't there, and then he ended up winning the Super Bowl with the Bucs, which is insane. But they're also stacked. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll start with Mac Jones. The neat thing about working with Bill Belichick is he knows how to kind of build around quarterbacks, especially systematic type quarterbacks. Like I think Tua is a good systematic quarterback. Like he can build around to where the scheme of offense is easy for them. Sure, they might not get a bunch of deep targets. That's just how it is. Like they don't spend too much money to get like too many Randy Mosses anymore.
Right.
I think Mac Jones will look pretty efficient when he plays. He won't be putting astronomical numbers. I think the Patriots will make the playoffs, but it's not going to be because of Mac Jones yet. I think following years later, if he continues to grow, then it'll be more of the Mac Jones show if he's the guy that the Patriots drafted. Zach Wilson to me is a very interesting pick because I had no idea who he was until this year. He just came out of nowhere from BYU. BYU doesn't really get too much footage or prime game time spots. So I didn't really know too much. I wasn't sure if he was NFL ready or just an NFL kind of player. But his teammates were saying good things about him. Robert Saleh, the head coach, is saying good things about him. He's making some, I guess, quote-unquote, Aaron Rodgers-esque throws, which I can see. I mean, these quarterbacks now are way more talented than what they used to be. And I can believe him making the throws. I can believe a lot of these guys making those kind of throws. I'm very curious how well he does under the big lights because BYU they don't get super big matchups against really super ranked teams that are like Power 5, like SEC type of games. I want to see him under a bigger spotlight, like a division rival game, or if they need a push to the playoffs, can he live up to the standard? But I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be a starter immediately, probably no later than week 3. And then Trevor Lawrence, he has had the most hype since John Elway. Like he was like he's like the chosen one of college football. And I get it. He's super tall, super. He has that build. He has athletic build, kind of similar to like Josh Allen, just a little skinnier. I think he has the legs like Josh Allen. Like he can move, believe it or not. He has the arm talent, obviously. He has the physical mold of a perfect quarterback, kind of like Carson Wentz and Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
But when I watch him play, like he makes big throws, but when I watch him play, he doesn't really seem to love the game of football. I was telling this to a coworker, Mike, from Content. Trevor Lawrence reminds me of Johnny Manziel in a very strange way. Johnny Manziel played football because he wanted to see how much money he could make. Trevor Lawrence, he didn't really love football, in my opinion, which is why he never took the time to study the plays. Trevor Lawrence reminds me of Johnny Manziel because of that lack of love for football. He doesn't really talk about it. He just kind of talks like when your mom forces you to play AAU basketball and you don't want to quit because you want to piss her off. It's kind of like that, in my opinion. But then again, I said the same thing about Justin Herbert because Justin Herbert's a real quiet guy.
Love Justin Herbert.
But he showed up.
Yeah.
And I was dead wrong because he was one of my favorite quarterbacks coming into the draft. But then as I looked at him more, like, this guy doesn't really love football, in my opinion. But maybe Trevor Lawrence will prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And he'll meet the expectations of the media.
Yeah.
It just depends because he's the number 1 overall pick. And number 1 overall picks usually don't have the most prolific years in terms of success as a team, making the playoffs. I don't think I've ever seen it happen. I'm sure it has, but I don't remember who did it.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing too with Trevor Lawrence is, I mean, you can't be too excited to go to Jacksonville. I mean,
it's
the same.
It's really humid out there.
Yeah, I mean, the Jaguars in general. I mean, they've been a little rough these past few years, and then the same thing. I mean, it's different though. It's like you said though, because if you compare him then to Joey Burrow, who goes to the Bengals, obviously it's not exciting, but that dude loves football. Mm-hmm. So it's you get. I guess I do understand what you're saying. There's definitely parallels there. Because and then like you said, Justin Herbert, that's another good example too. Because, first looking at him, you're like, oh, dude, like who's this guy? Because he's from Oregon, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And so you're looking at Justin Herbert, and you're like people said that he was playing well, especially like when they did the combine and all that kind of stuff. And then he comes and starts playing for the Chargers, and this dude is just playing out of his mind. I mean, he does have great offensive weapons. I mean, you had Austin Eckler as a running back, and then what's that other guy's Justin Jones? No, what's his name?
I can't remember either.
But yeah, I mean, not that he was bigger, because then you have Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and then didn't they just get oh no, he went to the Raiders because they had Terrell Williams too, but I think he went to the Raiders, right?
I'm not sure.
I think so. I don't even know if that is his first name. Regardless, I mean, he's playing with obviously Keenan Allen is one. He's a top 10 wide receiver in the league, so he's got weapons, but he also played really well, so that's good. And then, but yeah, I mean, going back to that Trevor Lawrence thing, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously he's got talent, so we'll see if he is able to do anything for that organization in the first year. Obviously, it's going to take time, but.
Mm-hmm. And to kind of finish off that subject, my last prospect is Trey Lance. Trey Lance is someone I really want to watch closely with. I think I want to go on a limb and say he's the most talented one of the bunch. I didn't follow him closely in college because he played North Dakota State. It's not a Power 5 school, so I didn't watch him play too much. But he has the talent, and he has the system that's perfect. Like, you will succeed if you're under Kyle Shanahan's system. The 49ers didn't do well last year, mainly because of injury, but they're looking a little more healthier this year. And Trey Lance is getting those reps in the preseason. I mean, he has a way better arm than Jimmy Garoppolo, so it's going to happen to where he gets replaced by Jimmy. But yeah, Trey Lance definitely has the most talent, and he has the better system around him. And he could, I want to go on a limb and say he might lead him to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think you can't go. I mean, you can't go wrong with being in Kyle Shanahan's system. I never really I like Jimmy Garoppolo, but I just never thought he was he's I feel like he's like an average quarterback. You could put a lot of people in his position and they would succeed. So with Trey Lance, being with the weapons that they have, Kyle Shanahan's system, all that kind of stuff, I think he has a very good opportunity here to kind of showcase his skills in addition to kind of working with the system. Because a lot of these, like you said, with especially kind of showing that to going back to Mac Jones, being in Belichick's system, like you said, you're probably not going to see a lot of crazy plays. You're not going to see, it's very efficient, in New England, but the system works. But I think in San Francisco, you have an opportunity for Trey Lance to kind of go a little bit above and beyond outside of the system, because I feel like Kyle Shanahan's system, while the quarterbacks have a chance to play and showcase their skills, I mean, it's very run based too. So I think it'll kind of give Trey Lance a little bit of room to move around and like you said, showcase what he's got to give. So
let's take a quick break. We'll move forward about the Denver Broncos along with New Orleans, and then we'll talk about some predictions. So let's take a quick break and we'll get back to it. Hello, guys. Welcome back. So Oscar and I were just talking about anime, and we'll be getting that real soon. So just you wait. But let's wrap up NFL first. So let's talk about the Denver Broncos. That's a topic I don't really talk about, and I figured I'd do it with you. And from what you told me, you got some things to say. So the Denver Broncos had their first preseason game against the Vikings. They won 33-6. Drew Lock, their quarterback, third-year quarterback, I believe, threw only 7 passes but racked up 150 yards and 2 TDs. Was this a preseason fluke, or has Drew Lock finally taken that next step in his game?
So for people who know me personally, I don't have really a reason to not like Drew Lock. I just really don't like Drew Lock. The thing is, though, is I feel like every time I say that, he has a game where he performs well. Like, I just feel like for me, like, I think it's more of like a love to hate type of thing, where I just like, I like to not like Drew Lock. The thing is, though, it's a preseason game, so I feel like you can't look too much into it. Granted, if he did have a good game, he had a good game, but I feel like we can't say anything about him being in the next level until he gets into like regular season. So we'll see. Definitely, I think he's definitely not a bad quarterback by any means. So we'll see how he does in the regular season. But like I said, it's still a preseason game. Same thing goes for Justin Fields. Like, I mean, yes, it's the preseason, so he's playing against like second and third stringers. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know if I would necessarily go on a limb and say that he's reached like the next level until we see him do something similar in a regular season game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you on that. I think it's just a preseason game. Some of these guys won't even make the cut by the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So you won't see these guys on the field that Drew Lock just lit. Yeah, I think Drew Lock will be better. I think he has a little bit more talent around him, and it's kind of like that make or break year for him. If he doesn't perform, they're most likely going to draft his replacement. And Drew Lock kind of comes off as he's kind of like a bro-ish kind of dude. He likes to dance. He likes to sing, which is cool and all. I don't mind that really. I feel like he does care. He does genuinely care about his position on the field. Like, probably doesn't want to get a bad image. He wants to show that he really wants to win games, which every quarterback should. So I think this will be the year he defines his true character as a football player.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that kind of at least for example, I want to see I want to see Jerry Jeudy open up this year too.
Oh, me too.
And so I think that'll be good, especially if Drew Lock is like you said, if his game is improving, then that'll be good for both sides, for him and for Jerry Jeudy. So we'll see what happens. But like I said,
do you have any concerns with the Vikings?
Dude, the Vikings are the Vikings. I feel like the Vikings are right there for me with the Lions, where like the Vikings theoretically should be good, but then they just come out and then they can't beat like anybody who has like a record of 500. Like, they will annihilate crappy teams, annihilate them. But then they play like normal teams who are like average teams or like above average teams, and they cannot win games. And I mean, especially like you being a Packers fan, you definitely have seen your fair share of destroying the Vikings. So
yeah, Vikings. Yeah, I always say every year, the Vikings are looking pretty good. I'd be a little concerned, and then it's always an underperforming year. It's always some excuse of why they couldn't make it.
Yeah,
I'll give them this. Their defense is pretty consistent, kind of like the Bears. When Aaron Rodgers leaves the Packers, which I believe will be next year, people are going to say, the NFC North is going to be up for grabs. Honestly, I'm going to say the Bears are probably going to be the one to take the North. I was just saying this in my last episode. Chicago Bears are the Chicago Cubs. They're baby Bears. They're growing into something. They're going to mature from Cubs to actual Bears. And Vikings, I don't know. I mean, Kellen Mond, I really liked him in college, and I think he's going to be the franchise quarterback. They just need to get rid of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
man. He's very efficient, but you can't really expect him to make big time plays. Sometimes he does, but not all the time.
Right. Yeah, he's not as, I don't know. He's exceptionally average, and the thing is if he hasn't been doing it, he's not going to do it. Like, you've seen what Kirk Cousins can do. He's not going to do more than that. He's going to do exactly what he does every time he goes to play. The other thing is like the Vikings have great offensive weapons, and I feel like they just can't get around the fact that they can Dalvin Cook is a beast. He is a beast. Him and they still have Alexander Madison too, don't they? Because he's also pretty good too. Because that's I think like they'll put him in every once in a while to kind of give Dalvin Cook a rest. But then you have Thielen. Obviously, Diggs went to the Bills, and that was like a loss. But then they have Justin Jefferson, and he's also a dog. So I mean, they have the weapons to do it, and the fact that they can't just blows my mind.
Same. I'm hoping actually I'm not really hoping. I hope the Vikings don't win the North, but I'm hoping they can at least make some sort of a next step. But enough of that. Let's transition to New Orleans. I love this very interesting dynamic that's going on. Jameis Winston is he's arguably the funniest quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
He just says the most profound shit for no reason. I saw this meme where they interviewed him, and he was saying like very big, profound words, and it really didn't mean anything. Like he used like continuity when it came to quarterback training. It reminded me like going into a job interview and just trying to sound like I'm very fit for the job, and I want you to believe it, so I'm going to try my very hardest to like use as many big words to sound like I'm qualified.
Yeah.
And he is in a quarterback battle with Taysom Hill, and I don't know what's going on. They just paid Taysom Hill, I'm assuming for some cap space reasons. And then you have Jameis Winston, who he has some arm talent. He's more talented than Taysom Hill on his arm and his legs. I'll make that argument. So who's going to be the starting quarterback?
That's definitely an interesting one to go about. Here's my thing: is I joked around for a while. Is Jameis got LASIK because he said that he couldn't see. Like he was basically like the prescription that he was at. He was like, I'm basically blind. Like he was saying that when he was on the Bucks. So he got LASIK, and then he wasn't able to play. So my whole thing is, I was like, I want to see LASIK Jameis play. Like I want to see what he's got, because you're right. He has great arm talent. Like he can sling the ball. The thing is though, is like if he really can't read defenses well and he just is gonna continually throw interceptions, you just can't have it. But Taysom Hill does he does at least the bare minimum of throwing. Like he's very efficient. If it's just like getting first downs, he can do it. But then he's also obviously very mobile. They'll put him in, which we'll see. I don't know if I had to go with one who was gonna win, I would say Taysom Hill probably would win. Even though I do think that like in raw talent, I do think that Jameis Winston is. He's more talented. But I think the thing with Jameis is he just has to prove that, he's as knowledgeable as, at least he has to be as knowledgeable as Taysom Hill, and they're not going to put him in. That's all it is. Because especially with the Saints, you're following up Drew Brees now, who is one of the most efficient quarterbacks ever. So they're not going to want someone who's continually just, dropping, 2 or 3 interceptions a game. So I think it'll probably go to Taysom Hill, but it just depends on how Jameis Winston performs.
Yeah, it is true. As of now, I think Taysom Hill will be the immediate starter. Maybe Jameis will kind of make some good throws, some flashes of success in the preseason when he gets more reps. Also, I'm curious, like, who do the players like more? Who do they have the best chemistry with, Taysom or Jameis? That's what I don't know.
Yeah, especially for people who've been there for a while. I guess they've known him. They've known Taysom Hill to be on the team. Taysom has always been like that jack of all trades type of role, but I still think that he's definitely, he's ingrained himself in their culture at some point. So I don't know how much they actually do like him. But that's a good point. I didn't really think about that with, overall team chemistry. Because Jameis Winston's only been there a year now? At
least a year.
So it's definitely interesting. A year is enough to make an impression for sure. So it just depends. But like I said, you can't ignore that Taysom Hill's been on the Saints for ever. So
it's true.
It really does depend, I guess.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Jameis.
Yeah,
he's just so fucking funny.
I know. I do. I think
I want to see him do the chicken finger thing again. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes.
The W.
The W, and he's like,
we're eating W's.
Yes. I do think he brings like a different element with all the humor. That cracks me up, man.
Dude, I still remember in college, like, I knew this guy was gonna be something different when he got in trouble for pretty much yelling a meme on went to Florida State. He literally got on top of a cafeteria table and he said, I don't want to say it because I really don't. Okay, fine, I'll say it. Remember that old Vine where that news reporter is reporting and that old guy interrupts her?
Yeah.
Like, he literally got on the table and quote unquote said the entire Vine, and then he got suspended a game. Mm-hmm. It was just so stupid. And I think I caught stealing too. Yeah, he's just a character. I want to see him like actually be fully molded. I feel like we never got a fully like developed Jameis Winston.
A fully developed Jameis Winston would be a dangerous quarterback. I think he hasn't put all the pieces together, but that's what he's going to need to do if he wants to win over Taysom Hill. So
Right. Let's wrap up football with 2 quick questions. We don't have to go too in depth, but let's start. Any sleeper teams for the playoffs? My sleeper teams would be the Cardinals, and I want to go with the Miami Dolphins.
I like the Miami Dolphins pick. I do, because the Dolphins really did show some. They showed some spunk last year. We'll have to see though if they can continue. Because did they draft another quarterback? Because they have Tua, and then they have because they sent Fitzpatrick away again. I forgot where. I think he went to the Washington football team.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
They just drafted Jalen Waddle from Alabama, who Tua worked with the most when he was there. So they got that duo relationship already.
Right.
So I could see Jalen Waddle being a top rookie in terms of receiving yards for sure.
Yeah. I think the Dolphins is a great pick. I love to root for the Browns because the Browns just have always sucked. But they have been putting a lot of pieces together, and I think they, seeing them kind of at least in their division kind of grow a little bit and challenge the Steelers and challenge the Ravens is nice to see. Will they make the playoffs? It really depends on if the Steelers do well or not, because the Ravens have been consistently good for the past few years with Lamar Jackson, so it'll just depend on how the Steelers do, but I would like to see the Browns do a little bit better.
Me too. I think the Browns weren't a sleeper pick for me because I know, and I think the media knows, that the Browns are no longer the Browns that we all know. I think they'll win a playoff game. I don't think they'll go to the conference title game. That's reserved for the Ravens for sure. You're right. It does depend on how the Steelers do. Are the Steelers frauds this year? I don't know. We'll find out. But I want to say one player to look out for is Najee Harris. He's dog. He's a dog. So we'll see how he does. Moving forward to who are your candidates for the MVP and which one will win it and why?
Yeah. Well, for overall MVP?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I think that'll be an interesting thing to see. I kind of want to see on some of the people who were out last year. We have Saquon hopefully coming back this year, and hopefully Dak, after that sad injury last year, also is coming back. So hopefully we'll see some redemption from either of those two. As far as everybody else, let me see. Who's on the top for odds right now?
Yeah, I got that popped up. I got Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Matt Stafford, and we got Russ and Justin Herbert, and then Kyler Murray.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing too. That's the other thing about MVP, or even for offensive rookie of the year. All of those are just it's going to be a quarterback. I feel there's probably the ratio for quarterbacks to any other position, offensive position, is probably astronomical in favor of the quarterback. But I do like Josh Allen is another one that I really would be that would be cool to see him win MVP. He's been on the grind. That dude's an animal. I think he's probably one of the more athletic quarterbacks for sure, and he's got an absolute cannon for an arm. So I think that'd be a good pick. Aaron Rodgers would be another cool one too. It'll be interesting to see how he plays this year, though. I know there's been a lot of drama with the Packers in general, so I don't know if that's gonna. Aaron Rodgers usually, I feel like that won't affect him. He usually plays well regardless, but it'll definitely be interesting to see how that plays out. And I think Jordan Love got hurt anyway, so.
Yeah. My top picks will probably be Rodgers, Mahomes, and then Matt Stafford. I put those guys in the mix.
Yeah.
But
man, Matt Stafford would be so cool.
Yeah, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to win it back to back. That just doesn't happen. Yeah. The thing with the MVP award is it's kind of like a story. It has to be the best story.
Yeah.
Sure, numbers do come in play, but if you're kind of like an underdog pick and you have pretty good numbers, you have a good chance of winning it.
Yeah.
I was gonna
say, and to your point, I think that kind of makes a good argument for Matt Stafford too. being in the Lions for so long, not winning literally anything. But, I mean, I love Matt Stafford. So I think him on the Rams, I think he's going to do well. And then, obviously, if he does do well, I think he does have a great chance. And then the other one that I forgot about is, last year, like we were talking about earlier, Russ I feel like he's always a candidate for MVP because last year, he performed out of his mind for like the first half of the season. And it just dwindled out of the race. So he's always someone that I feel like you can look to for MVP because it's Russ. But which each year, I mean, he is getting a little older, and I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to play. I mean, but the Seahawks have always had a pretty solid team. So
yeah, to give you my final pick, it's between Matt Stafford and Dak Prescott. If Dak Prescott and the Cowboys can be the NFC favorites, which I don't think they will, it's going to be Dak's because, he came from a season-ending injury. He's back, and if he puts up numbers, which he was before he got injured, he has a good case. But I want to give it to Matt Stafford, especially with the story of, being always underperforming because the Lions just kind of held him back.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have for football. So let's take one more break, and then we'll get straight into anime. So stick around.
Perfect.
People.
Sounds good.
Okay.
ASMR Costco ice cream sandwich eating.
As you can tell, we are back online, and I am introducing Oscar to his first ever Kirkland ice cream bar. I don't know what the hell to call it. I just call them ice cream bars. So I want to see what his first taste is like. So go ahead. What do you think?
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Dude, just get. Oh man, that is really good. Just get Kirkland to sponsor you.
I did have a podcast Instagram post where I used my toilet paper, my Kirkland toilet paper, as a computer stand because I needed to raise the camera higher for my Zoom call. It's just this big ass package of toilet paper, and it's just Kirkland right there. I put it on Instagram.
Kirkland,
and I said,
where you at, son? Where are you at?
For real, I put this episode is sponsored by Kirkland just to be funny, and they literally gave me a monetization strike or like a warning. It's like, is this a monetized post? Please confirm. I'm like, what? No. Maybe I shouldn't have said that though, like in the text. All right. Let's wrap this up with some.
Sounds good. Some anime.
Oh man, you get that ice cream feeling on your tooth, and it's
the sensitive.
Oh yeah, I have sensitive teeth. Okay, let's wrap up some anime. Those of you who don't know, I really like anime. You can probably tell from the posters behind me. Those of you who watch this frequently, who the fuck are these things behind him? It's anime. So thankfully, Oscar also likes anime, and me and him been actually watching a show together called Tokyo Revengers. For those of you who don't know what Tokyo Revengers is, it's an anime about this 20-something-year-old guy. He has a near-death experience, and he finds out he can time travel. He time travels back to when he's in middle school, and the reason why he does this is because his middle school crush dies in this gang-related accident, and her brother is a detective and knows that he can time travel and said, you're going to time travel, and you're going to stop these events from happening in the past so you can save my sister. And, it's a doozy. So, Oscar, how you been liking it?
So first thoughts. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. Starting off, I remember you had told me the first episode was kind of slow, and it is because you don't really I didn't have any concept of what was gonna happen. I didn't research the show. I didn't look up what it was about. I just went into the show blind. And honestly, I think that kind of made me appreciate it more because I was just like, what the fuck is going on right now? Because, he dies and then he's got blonde hair, and I'm like, what is happening right now? But then it obviously starts, explaining the story. So far, I think the writing has been very good. The character development has been really good as well, especially with the main character. You see a lot of growth right off the bat in the first 5-6 episodes. But you think it's just going to be like this, an easily kind of explained story, But as you start watching it, it just keeps evolving into more and more things, which is one of the reasons why I think I've enjoyed it so much. Because you like once I started watching it, it kind of gives you the main premise, but then you're just that gets expanded immensely within like a few episodes in already. So like you start to just find out that there's just so much more to what we're watching.
Yeah. It was very slow at first, and to not spoil too much, but he thinks he gets the job done, and then he doesn't, and like how dark it gets to where it's almost like an obsession for him to fix things, to where he goes on this speech saying, "I'm gonna be the leader of the gang." And for those of you who watch it, he's a little scrawny kid. He does go through some character development, but not like physical development. It's more like he learns to be tougher and learns not to be so scared and a crybaby. Well, he does cry. He cries every episode.
Yeah.
But he at least comes in full-headed, like, I'm going to make a difference, which is nice. It's fine. But to me, it's not him that I pay attention to the most. His name is Takamichi. They call him Takamichi or something just to be funny. They don't know they don't know how to pronounce his name. But there's other characters that I really like to follow, which is the gang members that he associates himself with. Particularly, I like the character Mikey the most.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the best fighter in the whole show. Like, he can just kick anybody's ass, no matter how big or small they are. And
he's a tiny dude.
Yeah.
He's a tiny dude.
Think of it like Captain Levi from Attack on Titan, but like in a real setting.
Pretty much. And
he's still kind-hearted. Like he's very friendly with Takamichi and his gang members. But then when they get messed with, it's a whole different story.
Yeah.
And then his right-hand man, Draken, who's this tall, big, like
Draken.
6'10" dude.
Yeah.
He's tough as hell, and like he has like the hard shell, like he's like the badass looking dude. But then you see he's very respectful and he has values that he doesn't cross the line, which is refreshing.
Right. And it kind of shows you, too, in the show where Draken's values kind of are what guide in that time period. So in, like, their middle school time period, Draken's values are what kind of drives the gang, even though he's not necessarily the leader. Because him and Mikey are so close, they're, like, his values and his morals basically kind of help drive the gang to what, what they explain in the show is like the golden years of what they've had before obviously shit starts to go south. But Mikey Kuna is a great character, and then Draken's so cool, man. He's just, I think he's one of my favorite characters just because because of like all the growth that you see throughout like like the first season. Like they just expand on his character so much. Because like you said, I mean, he starts off and everybody's like, oh, he's just going to be like a brawny tough guy. And then as things like, start to develop, you just see so much development from his character. And it makes him, way more likable.
I agree. And then I'm trying my best not to like chew in front of the microphone. I'm trying my best not to chew in front of the microphone. Draken is definitely one of my favorite characters. The female characters, you don't really see too much of them, like the love interest. She's not. It's really strange. Like for someone who is pretty much the center of the plot, you don't really see her that much. She doesn't really associate herself with the gang activity. But like it gets even more complicated. Which episode are you on?
I think. How many total episodes are out right now?
I think there's 19.
I think I'm on like 14.
Okay, so you got a little ways to go. So I won't try to spoil too much, but you start to realize like these kids aren't like delinquents for no reasons. Like they have troubled childhoods. One of their brothers dies when they were a kid. Their parents aren't really around. They get beat, and like you kind of put in perspective, like it's not their fault that they're this way, and like you kind of sympathize with these characters.
Yeah. And
there's so many characters because they're not the only middle school gang in Tokyo. There's other gangs, and they all have like these unique like appeal. There's a unique appeal to them, and so like they have these battles against each other, and like you really don't know what's gonna happen. And the fighting is pretty great.
Yeah, the animation for the fighting is nice because it's nothing crazy. Like you'll have animes like, for example, You have like Attack on Titan is a good one where that one the animation for the fight scenes has to be insane because it's not just people fighting, you know. Like obviously we'll get to Attack on Titan later, but with Tokyo Revengers, you know, it's simple. It's just simple combat, but they make it, you know, it looks clean, and you know they put enough animation to where you can see like the skill that people actually have while they're fighting, which is cool. And then I was gonna say something too about Draken again too, but I can't remember what I was gonna say. Oh, basically, yeah, how you were saying like you can tell you do really start to sympathize for everybody because you like, you know, they kind of go into Draken's backstory a little bit of why he's the way he is, and I mean like it's definitely understandable to see how some of these characters just got into the situation, you know, going from no family and then finding family and all these, you know, in the Tokyo Manji gang, which is what the gang is called, or Toman. Mm-hmm. You know, they find all these friends that are in there, and that's their family now. So,
right,
it's easy to sympathize.
Mm-hmm. I got a feeling it's going to be concluding pretty soon. I can tell you this: I always itch for the new episode every week. I get mad. Like I usually don't get mad when I get left on a cliffhanger, but now I get extra mad. It's like, oh, it's getting so good. I don't want it to end right now, and we'll have to touch back on the ending. But I think it's a great show. It reminds me of that anime Erase. Have you seen that one?
On my list.
Yeah, it's a same concept. It's a time traveling anime. I like time travel in general, so I thought that was pretty cool. Especially when he goes back in time and goes forward in time to know answers to help him in the past. I thought that was cool because he does visit Draken as an adult to get answers to help him in a situation in the present, in the past. Yeah. So you mentioned Attack on Titan, and let's kind of talk about that because that's actually wrapping up soon. The final season concludes early 2022. I did tell you that they had an alternative ending, but that's actually a fan-made alternative ending. So it'll be the same ending as the manga if you're up to speed. But all said and done, when it ends, will the show cement itself as the greatest anime of all time?
So it honestly is one of the best written animes I've ever watched. Like season 3 of Attack on Titan alone is probably some of the best like just content that I've consumed ever. Like it just had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. There's just so much stuff because the way that Attack on Titan works is it does a great job of kind of giving you just enough information to understand what's going on, but then leaving you wanting to know more of the information so you can connect all the puzzle pieces. Because they'll explain characters, but they don't go into like super depth right at the beginning. And then as like the show goes on, you just piece more and more stuff together, and it just chef's kiss. I mean, as far as I don't know if I've consumed enough anime for me to name it the best anime of all time, but it is definitely like, as far as content wise, it's a top 5 show or anime of all time. Like in terms of story, like it's crazy. And I think I haven't actually. So I read the manga up to the part where like they get to the edge of the island in season 3. So that's as far as I read, and I read that like a while ago, and then I forgot about all that. So I watched it again. But after the time skip, I don't know what's going to happen. So I have no idea what the ending is going to be. So it'll be I'll probably read it cuz I don't want to wait. Now that I know it's going to be the same, I don't want to wait.
Yeah. To me, you're right. The story itself is so innovative. Like if you were to watch the first episode and watch the most recent episode, you don't know what the hell you just got yourself into. And the best part about it, there's not plot holes. Mm-hmm. Like they do such a good job of eliminating as many plot holes as they can to what part of the story they're at. And there's such great details to each character. It's not like it's only Eren Yeager. And to be honest, Eren Yeager is not even my favorite character. He's not even one of the characters I like. Like he's actually one of my dislikable characters. But there's so many other great characters that you can follow, and you don't have to focus on just Yeager. Yeah,
that's true. They give the spotlight to so many different people. But you're right. Like a lot of people think that Eren is going to be like he's going to be the main protagonist. You know,
Mm-hmm.
And not that he isn't, but like as the show goes on, there's just other characters that I find that are like super likable. Like obviously on your poster, like Levi is one of the coolest anime characters. Like for me, he's definitely in like Kakashi territory, where like Kakashi is just like a badass anime character, like period. Him, Gojo for newer animes, and then you have Levi. So it's just, and Mikasa's also like, you can't dislike Mikasa, but there's definitely, you're right, there's a lot of room that they made for character development, which in turn kind of created this entire universe of likable characters that people can kind of identify with. And I think that's another reason why people like this show so much, is there's just so much. It's an anime for people who don't like anime, and then people who do like anime also will enjoy it. Obviously there's still a bit of like fantasy in there, a little bit of gore, but I mean overall, like it's a very well made show.
Yeah, and what I appreciate most about it is you feel something. Like, you feel, if there's a depressing episode or just an overall season, you feel like the kind of the mood of the story so well, especially when it's animated. Like, I always say I like manga better than anime, but the anime does it justice. It illustrates it way better than the manga can. And it makes sense because it's a very action-heavy show, and manga chapters sometimes can't fully illustrate it, and people can get confused with what's going on. I think My Hero Academia is a good example. It's so much better to watch it on film or on TV than it is to read it. And it's for it to be concluding, I'm glad to be part of the experience, because I watched it my freshman year of college when the first season came out, and it built hype. It built hype around people that usually don't watch anime. And to kind of conclude this episode, like, my final question is, like, back then, if you watched anime when we were kids, you're kind of considered a little bit of a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like, people, that's kind of weird. You're watching cartoons, and you're kind of and it's really zany, and it's like not like the cartoons we watch as kids. Like, it's not like it's Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon cartoons. But I feel like now it's not less frowned upon.
Well, I think part of the thing too is it's for some reason, I don't know what happened. Maybe, I mean, you could say that Attack on Titan was one of the reasons that this happened. Obviously, there's probably a handful of other shows that also helped contribute to this, but like anime now is just becoming more and more mainstream. And I think the reason I was saying Attack on Titan could be, part of that reason is because, like I said, I think Attack on Titan is for people who don't like anime. Like, it's an anime that people who don't like it can watch it just because the story is so captivating. But then, people are starting to understand, like, oh, like there's a lot of other anime that like I would never have even looked at, but Attack on Titan was good, so this one's probably like could have a similar story. And I mean, it is what it is. Like, I feel like I 100% know what you're talking about, though. Like, I remember like staying up late watching Toonami or Adult Swim, and then they would put on like, they put on Dragon Ball Z or Rurouni Kenshin, Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, which those are like older animes, but it's like the same thing. People are like why are you watching that?
Yeah, and I think some has to do with the fact that because the digital space has made anime so easily accessible, when we were kids, we watched dubbed anime. Usually English portrayals or like English voiceovers, they don't do it justice. No, the acting is usually off, but now people can watch like the original audio with the Japanese voiced audio and music, and it sounds way better. Like, I recall like watching Digimon and the theme song, oh, that's cool, it's a nice theme song, and then there's like, you watch the actual Japanese version, it's a different theme song, and you appreciate it a little bit more. And another thing that why it builds mainstream, the most notable example I can think of is Kanye West. He's in anime. He actually is a big fan of the movie Akira. Akira is one of the most notable and probably one of the best anime movies of all time. It's been acclaimed by many publications, and he uses it in one of his music videos, I think Stronger, back in the day. And over the course of time, more famous people get into it. Elon Musk likes anime. He has a really large following. He appeals to these kind of people, the science kind of guys. And usually science falls in play with anime because there's science fiction anime. So it just takes like just how accessible it is. We can get anime episodes out the week, the day it comes out. Back in the day, we had to wait months for it to be voiceover for us to watch it. So because we're so easily able to watch new things. It's open to other people to watch it.
Yeah, and I think too the thing is like once people start watching it, they start realizing that the stories aren't like it's like not a a cartoon story.
And the stories are so much better now.
Right.
Dragon Ball. Akira Toriyama, he has even said he just thinks on the fly when he writes Dragon Ball. He doesn't have a storyline in most cases. He just, I think we're gonna do this.
Dragon Ball is, I think it's everybody's seen it. Everybody's watched Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, or maybe not Super, but like Dragon Ball GT, whatever. Like people have seen all that stuff. The writing in there is not good, okay? But people don't watch Dragon Ball for the captivating character development or the the writing. Like that has some of the coolest fights in any anime. Like people are just blowing up planets, just destroying the settings that they're in. Man, people watch it for the action, but it has a staple in the anime community. They have movies, games, they have the show, toy. Like obviously it's monetized, but like Goku is one of the most recognizable characters in all of anime. Like if you watch anime, you know who Goku is. Like everybody knows who that is. He's essentially like if you were comparing that to regular, I would say like in terms of how recognizable he is. If you showed a kid SpongeBob, that's like showing someone Goku. It's like the same thing. Like people know who it is. But
I agree with that. And to your point, before the pandemic happened, Goku was going to be like the spokesperson of Tokyo 2020. Like he's just that big. There's a day named after him. But yeah, they had a day inspired by Goku the character, and it's just crazy. They're still making because he's so successful along with the show. They're still making Dragon Ball content, Dragon Ball manga, Dragon Ball anime. Still,
are they still making Super stuff?
That's actually concluded, but I think there's a spin-off to that. Yeah, because I know my friend watches it. But yeah, there's still content to watch or read online.
Dude, because the Universe tournament, like at the end of Super, is insane.
That shit was so long. I was in college when that tournament came out on the anime, and I was packing to move to my first like out of college apartment when it ended.
Yeah,
it was long.
But it was insane.
Yeah, we can all agree Goku and Dragon Ball are probably one of the most notable things in all anime.
Yeah.
To wrap things up, I did say that was the last question, but I had one more question. Is there any other anime you would recommend to people that watch anime or even don't watch anime?
Yeah, so let's see. I'll just name a couple of the ones that I've been watching recently. I need to catch up on the second season. So Dr. Stone, that I think it's a really cool anime to watch because it's not like for me a lot of the ones I watch are mostly just like anime where people will like a lot of like fight based stuff. So like obviously like Dragon Ball, I've watched that, Fire Force, then I just started watching Tokyo Revengers, Attack on Titan, all that kind of stuff. But Dr. Stone is interesting because it's very like science fiction, post-apocalyptic based. The main character is basically a genius, and he just walks you through all of these experiments that he's building from the ground up. So they're basically, the reason it's called Dr. Stone is because it's back, like, if you watch the show, they go basically back to Stone Age type of technology, and then Senju is the main character. He basically just starts reinventing things with the knowledge of like the current world. So you get to see him walk through all that kind of stuff, and honestly, it's a super cool show to watch. So that's a cool one. Fire Force, I just finished up season 2 of that one. That one's actually a really good show as well. That one kind of gives me some Naruto vibes, but it's a good show. Some other like sleeper ones. Akame ga Kill is a sad anime. It's short, but that one it's good. It's good. It's kind of sad, but it's good. Then obviously for like I'm trying to think of what other recent ones I've watched besides that. I mean, you have so many. I mean, I watched Parasite the Maxim is good.
Oh, that's great.
That one's a really good show too. It's a short one. It's only like 24 episodes. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff out there. But depending on like what you're looking for, I mean, I guarantee you there's an anime for it. So, but yeah, those would be some good recommendations for stuff that I've been watching like recently. I know we were talking about this too because I just finished Goblin Slayer. and the thing is, I watched it because I remember hearing a bunch of controversy about it, and it definitely like has, I would say, if you watched Game of Thrones and you enjoyed Game of Thrones, you can enjoy Goblin Slayer because the themes of like gore, a lot of it, and then the types of like themes and stuff that they have in there. Like for some viewers, I will say like it's probably a little too much because it gets kind of graphic and a little bit of like brutal almost, I would say. But like if you watched Game of Thrones and you enjoyed that, I think like the themes that are in Goblin Slayer are similar to that. And then obviously if you are a big like D&D person, it's kind of like the show is structured almost with like D&D in mind.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like playing the real life version of World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it reminds me of. It's like if you were in the game itself.
Yeah. Because like basically the show is like you have like this team comp essentially where you build up your team with like people with different abilities. So you have like the one of the main characters is like a warrior, if you'd say. And then there's like a priest, a wizard or whatever. But there's stuff like that. So it's built like a D&D group almost. It's just super brutal.
An anime that I recommend that falls in that kind of line in terms of like fantasy and like medieval is Drifters. Drifters is an older anime. It came out I think 3-4 years ago, and essentially it's like these warriors from different time periods and culture. They get like transport to this dimension, I think, to where like you were like a samurai, like an archer, and like an airplane pilot from World War II. They all come to this one dimension, and some of them team up together to conquer this like mystical like horde of like an army. So it's a very interesting concept. I could have never thought of something, but yeah, it definitely falls in line of like the whole Goblin Slayer of like D&D and like different types of warriors fighting against each other.
Yeah, that actually, you just remind me of like one last like group of anime that I'll suggest. So I watched Fate Zero and then Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. The reason I made that distinction is there's a 2 Fate Stay Nights. There's one of them that was like the original version that I heard is like not super great, and then someone remade it and then they put like the pseudonym of Unlimited Blade Works.
Is it kind of like Full Alchemist, what they did with Brotherhood?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's like I don't know if it's the same story because I never even watched the first one. But Fate Zero is the prequel, and then the next, like the sequel, is Fate Stay Night, the Unlimited Blade Works version.
Okay.
So essentially, all it is like it's kind of like if you've ever watched the Hunger Games types of anime, stuff like that. Except the whole premise is like, so you have like several people who are like the sorcerer as you call them. Who they basically will have some sort of like power or whatever. And these are like real people. And then each like sorcerer or like champion in this thing has like or not champion, like each sorcerer has their own champion who is a hero from history at some point. Some real, some like fictional heroes, but like they summon this person and then it's like a death match versus all of the other like sorcerers that are in this tournament with you, and you're trying to win like the Holy Grail essentially. And so the premise behind the Holy Grail is that like it grants you like unlimited power to make whatever wish that you want to make or whatever. So like people are all trying to like kill each other basically to get to this thing, but it's the animation in the Unlimited Blade Works versions of the sequel is very good. The fight scenes are super cool. And then Fate Zero, it goes along with Fate Zero. I watched it in the order of I watched Fate Zero first. You can watch it however. Because some people watched the Unlimited Blade Works first and then went back and watched Fate Zero, but Fate Zero kind of explains some stuff. But you can watch it either way. I watched Fate Zero first, and it explains some of like the basic like rules and stuff in both of the animes, but so you can watch either one that you'd like first, but that one's really cool. Yeah,
it kind of reminds me of that anime I watched last year during quarantine, Tower of God.
Oh, Tower of God, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I recommend that one. In terms of like an anime of where you're not into the whole zany, like fast-paced action, I recommend Promised Neverland. It's kind of more of like a psychological in terms of people kind of, these kids use their brains to like solve their problems rather than like I'm gonna fight my way to solve my problems, or I'm gonna beat this dude's ass and all my problems disappear. It's kind of like that. It's like a little more kind of like a thriller. Yeah, it's a little bit of a thriller. So I recommend that one to those that don't watch too much anime or Death Note. I think Death Note is a good starting point because it is like it's a detective show essentially.
Yeah, it's thriller 100%. Like that, it's it'll keep you on the edge of your seat, and it's a quick one. It's a 1-season show, but
technically it's 2 because there's a time skip.
Oh, you're right.
It's like a 1 or 2 year time skip. But yeah,
it's a very good show.
Yeah, I have to wrap things up. We're kind of a little over time, and I don't want to keep watching my camera if it's going to overheat. But Oscar, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you coming to the studio. I mean, it's just my apartment, but I like to call it my studio.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for coming to the studio and record with me. It's been awesome. I don't have too many guests come in. I usually do Zoom calls, so it's nice that you live in the area. We'll have to catch up again, talk more about football or even other sports you want to talk about, and definitely anime. Since we talk most about anime together. Thanks again for coming. Appreciate it. Yeah, and thanks to the listeners for listening to our little podcast on football and anime. It's such a good combination for today's episode. So thank you again for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Every little bit helps. I will see you guys in the next episode.